Hello, this is Mike Zagata, President and CEO of the Ruffed Grouse Society, and I'd like to spend a little time talking with you about what it's like to hunt and what hunters actually do for the wildlife resource. And before I get to what it's like to hunt, I'm not sure how many of us understand that every time a sportsman buys a firearm or ammunition, there's a federal excise tax of 11% that's collected on that firearm or ammunition, and that money goes to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and it's managed in what's called the Federal Aid Program. The money is then doled out by the Fish and Wildlife Service back to the state wildlife agencies based on a formula consisting of population and the number of hunting licenses sold. So the sportsmen are actually funding the state's wildlife programs, and they also fund it by virtue of the licenses that they purchase. And you might say, well, so what? I'm not a hunter. I really don't care about that. I'd much rather watch birds. Well, the thing that a lot of us don't appreciate is that the states then use a portion of that money to purchase properties and set them aside as wildlife areas. They often call them wildlife management areas. And if you know where those areas are in your state, if you go to it, oftentimes there's a big brown sign with letters engraved into the wood that says PR project number such and such. PR means Pittman-Robertson. That's the law that established the ability to collect that excise tax. So that property that you're using 12 months out of the year was actually purchased by sportsmen through the excise tax on their firearms and ammunition. The fact that the seasons are only open for a couple months a year for the hunters to hunt means that the public in general gets to use that area 10 months out of the year without any co-use by sportsmen. The sportsmen really only use it 2 months out of 12. So if you're riding your horses in that area or bird watching or whatever, please say thank you to the sportsmen and be patient when they do come out during those 2 months to hunt at the same time that you might want to be cycling or hiking or horseback riding, because they indeed did pay for that property and they would appreciate your acceptance of their use for those few months. The other thing that we often don't appreciate is that most of the ammunition that's used in this country, probably 80% or more of it, is not used in hunting at all. It's used in target shooting, clay pigeons, rifle shooting, but the excise tax is still collected and is still distributed back to the states to provide for conservation programs. So even though the ammunition wasn't used for hunting, the excise tax that was collected on it is used to manage wildlife and to provide for the purchase of lands dedicated to wildlife. I think that's important. Now, with regard to hunting itself, if you've ever hunted, you realize that you might spend 10 hours afield in pursuit of whatever it is that you're hunting. If you're fortunate enough to find what you're hunting for, you might take a shot at that particular animal with the hopes of harvesting it and then taking it home and feeding your family with it. But you don't always hit that target, and so you spent 10 hours and maybe you took a millisecond to pull the trigger and shoot at something you missed. Or maybe you spent that same millisecond and actually were successful. The Spanish philosopher Ortega Gasset really said it best when he said, "I don't hunt to kill, I kill to have hunted." The kill is a very small part of a much bigger overall experience. And those of us that do partake in hunting will tell you that the time of field, the time in the woods, the time with friends, the time with your bird dog, that's the part that you come back talking about and remembering. And yes, as humans we do have a predatory instinct, and some of us hunt in pursuit of satisfying that instinct and bringing home something to eat. But not every hunter does that. And I think it's important, again, to be patient with folks who have different interests than you might have. Some people like to ride horseback, not everybody does. Some people like to ride bicycles, not everybody does. And some people like to hunt, not everybody does. But we need to be patient of one another and respect the interests that we do have. And I hope to see you afield, be it bird watching, hunting, horseback riding, or cycling.